Hollywood's golden era gleamed with perfection. Matinee idols smiled from silver screens, their lives seemingly untouchable, their fame effortless. But behind the velvet curtains of Chateau Marmont, inside the locked rooms of Beverly Hills mansions, a different transaction was taking place. At least 11 of Hollywood's most celebrated leading men paid for their stardom not with talent auditions, but with their bodies. Some never escaped, some never spoke, and some took the truth to their graves. Natural CTA integration. What follows is a story Hollywood tried to bury. If you want to see more untold histories like this, subscribe now, because some truths only survive when people refuse to look away. James Dean, the rebel who couldn't say no, Hollywood, summer of 1951. A 20-year-old boy from Indiana stepped off a Greyhound bus with a duffel bag and a face that looked like it had been carved from loneliness. James Dean had no connections, no auditions, and no money. What he had was a strange, haunting beauty and a willingness to be silent. That silence made him valuable. The Chateau Marmont Hotel wasn't just a place for starlets to be discovered. It was an after-hours casting office where young men were assigned numbers instead of names. Dean was number 6. A bartender who worked the ground floor later recalled that Dean attended private parties where he never asked questions, never resisted, and always left before dawn. Rogers Brackett, a seasoned theater director, became Dean's sponsor, but sponsorship came with a cost. Actress Christine White, who lived near Brackett's apartment, remembered hearing Dean crying in the bathroom at 3 in the morning. By sunrise, he'd be on set, expressionless, as if nothing had happened. Dean's career began to rise after a series of arranged visits. He served cocktails at upscale parties, but the real service happened behind closed doors. On one occasion, he spent the night with an older investor in exchange for a television role on CBS. He didn't refuse. Refusal meant going back to washing dishes on Sunset Boulevard. According to a close friend, Dean was once secretly filmed in a Wilshire Boulevard penthouse while privately entertaining a studio executive. That footage became leverage, a leash that ensured Dean would never break free from the web of power wrapped around him. From that point on, his life wasn't his own. What he wore, where he went, who he dated, all of it was arranged by faceless handlers. Many believe this control contributed to Dean's increasing withdrawal. He became cold, suspicious, paranoid, like someone who knew he was being watched every single day. Dean traded his body for fame, but what he received wasn't glory. After just 3 breakout performances, he died in a mysterious car crash in 1955, right when his career was only beginning. Marlon Brando, the man who slept his way to stardom. Marlon Brando once declared bluntly at a press party in 1975, "I slept with anyone who could give me a part, male or female. It didn't matter as long as they had power." The quote was later cited by Vanity Fair in a 2001 dossier, serving as proof of the hidden machinery behind American cinema. Back in the 1940s, Brando was hustling on small New York stages when an aging director named George Cukor bought him for $300 a week. The payment wasn't for rehearsals. It was for late-night private sessions in Cukor's Beverly Hills apartment. Cukor later phoned Elia Kazan to recommend Brando, leading to his legendary casting as Stanley Kowalski in A Streetcar Named Desire. But Brando didn't stop at one man. He slept with directors, producers, even reporters, anyone who could move him closer to the spotlight. In a leaked personal diary found after his death, Brando listed 14 men who had helped him with both body and money. One of them was Jack Warner, the tycoon behind Warner Brothers, who once rescued Brando from a sex scandal in 1953 so he could go on to star in Julius Caesar. Brando was unapologetic. He saw his body as currency and spent it without hesitation. In his own words, he traded shame for survival and survival for fame. But not everyone who followed his path survived the transaction. Sal Mineo, The star murdered by his past. Sal Mineo, the handsome actor who played James Dean's best friend in Rebel Without a Cause, rose fast and fell even faster. Behind the spotlight was a past he was never allowed to speak of. In 1955, at just 16, Mineo was invited to the private home of a famous producer for a personal dialogue session. He later told a friend, "They said I'd get the part if I could convince them I was soft enough." That night, Mineo stayed. The next morning, his name was on the official audition list for Rebel. Mineo never denied it. In a 1973 TV interview that was cut from broadcast, he said bluntly, "In Hollywood, if you don't satisfy them, they won't remember your name." After Dean's death, Mineo spiraled. He was used, discarded, and eventually turned to selling himself as a way to survive. According to The Advocate, Mineo had exclusive arrangements with 2 directors in Palm Springs, trading sexual favors for minor roles in B-movies. By the late 60s, Mineo tried to reclaim his career. He directed plays, joined independent art projects, and began speaking out about Hollywood's hidden horrors. A week before his murder, Mineo told a CBS reporter, "I've got names, photos, tapes. If something happens to me, go find them." On February 12, 1976, Sal Mineo was stabbed to death outside his apartment in West Hollywood. Police ruled it a robbery, but his wallet remained untouched. His watch was still on, and his briefcase, rumored to contain all the evidence he was about to expose, vanished. Mineo's death is a reminder. Some truths will kill you before the audience ever hears them. Rock Hudson, the gentleman escort behind closed doors. Rock Hudson wasn't just a Hollywood icon. He was the premium gift at parties no fan was ever invited to. As early as the 1950s, when he was just a young hopeful at Universal, Hudson was placed on the list of high-potential pretty boys by Henry Wilson, the most powerful manager in Hollywood at the time, famous for training actors straight from the bedroom. Hudson had a chiseled physique, a cinematic face, and a deep, seductive voice. But it wasn't talent that got him chosen. In a studio memo leaked in 1989, one of Wilson's former assistants had handwritten, "He's obedient, discreet, and always ready to accompany clients if I nod." They called Hudson the perfect companion. He never asked who he was meeting. He never said no. From the Beverly Hills Hotel to Palm Springs Estates, Hudson always arrived with a polite smile, poured drinks, made charming conversation, and if needed, walked into a bedroom without another word. A recorded phone call between Wilson and producer Ross Hunter, later published in full service by Scotty Bowers, revealed, "He can handle 2 people a night as long as no one takes pictures." When Hudson became a sensation with pillow talk and magnificent obsession, he wasn't just the media's darling. He was also the most expensive asset in secret fundraising parties hosted by film moguls. Rumors swirled that every time Hudson showed up at one of these exclusive gatherings, studios secured millions in underground investments from wealthy backers. No one knows how many people he actually slept with. But after his death, a crumpled note was found with a haunting scribble, "I was never allowed to say no. Cary Grant." The perfect gentleman's hidden nights. Cary Grant was once hailed by the press as the husband every woman dreams of. But the truth lay on the opposite end of that fantasy. For nearly 2 decades at the start of his career, Grant lived with actor Randolph Scott, a relationship that magazines curiously described as inseparable companions. At their Malibu Beach mansion, the pair hosted private parties for directors, screenwriters, and studio financiers. According to Scotty Bowers, the famed male escort matchmaker of the elite, Cary Grant didn't just entertain, he orchestrated behind-the-scenes exchanges. On one occasion, as recounted by a cinematographer, Grant invited 3 directors to his home, then disappeared with them into a locked second-floor room. A week later, he landed the leading role in Bringing Up Baby. A leaked memo from Columbia Pictures in 1942 mentioned Grant's complete compliance with after-hours studio-arranged activities, including support for the studio's key financial partners. Even after becoming a household name, Grant couldn't or wouldn't step away. Confidential magazine once investigated a 1955 incident where Grant was spotted leaving the Biltmore Hotel at 2 a.m. alongside an anonymous European backer just days before signing on for To Catch a Thief with Hitchcock. Perhaps that's why he married 5 times but never truly settled with anyone. And even as tabloids swarmed, Grant never once responded. He knew silence was the only thing that could keep him alive in a Hollywood full of traps. Montgomery Clift, The Sorrowful Eyes of a Man Who Sold Himself. Montgomery Clift never smiled for long in front of the camera. His gaze always carried a quiet sadness, as if it didn't belong to this world. And that made sense, because Hollywood was a place where he once sold himself just to land a supporting role. According to diary entries left by Elizabeth Taylor, Clift once confided, "A friend introduced me to a stage director. The deal was intimacy for a part." When Taylor asked if he regretted it, Clift simply said, "No, but every time I remember it, I feel like a part of me died." In 1945, before anyone knew his name, Clift agreed to a private audition at a Bel Air mansion where acclaimed director Joshua Logan was looking for a fresh face. After the session, Clift stayed there for 3 days. An elderly housemaid recalled in Clift, The Untold Story. He cried a lot, but when he left, he had a contract in his hand. Even later, when fame came, Clift dodged every question about how it all began. Once, when asked by Variety, he answered, "I started in the theater and in a few rooms where no one was watching." He lived in loneliness, battled alcohol, and died with a crooked smile. No one knows what secrets he took to the grave, but the pain in his eyes suggested he remembered every single one. Tab Hunter, the teen idol who lived a double life. In the 1950s, no one outshone the golden glow of Tab Hunter, the bright smile, the chiseled frame, the all-American boy. But behind the idol facade was a truth Hunter had to bury for half a lifetime. In 1950, at just 19, Hunter was arrested at a gay party in Long Beach, a scandal that nearly destroyed his career. But a powerful unnamed producer bailed him out, not with money, but with an exclusive 5-year contract. When asked about the scandal later, Hunter would only smile faintly and say, "I didn't lose anything. I just had to stay the night with someone I couldn't say no to." Throughout his golden years, Hunter was forced into fake romance contracts with young actresses, Natalie Wood, Debbie Reynolds, all to cover up his real relationships. Later in his memoir, Hunter wrote, "I wasn't chosen for my acting. I was chosen because I was willing to be quiet and beautiful in the way Hollywood needed." Even after achieving fame, Hunter couldn't escape. He was constantly monitored, constantly controlled. Every public appearance was staged. Every relationship was manufactured. His life became a performance with no intermission. Hunter lived in fear, fear of exposure, fear of losing it all if just one intimate photo leaked. And that fear kept him silent for decades. Richard Chamberlain, the TV doctor who lived in shadows. As Dr. Kildare in NBC's 1961 hit series, Richard Chamberlain was the dreamboat of millions. But behind the scenes, he lived in fear, fear of exposure, fear of losing it all if just one intimate photo leaked. A former assistant told Hollywood Insider, he never left the studio with his lover. All meetings happened at his private apartment, windows always shut, curtains always drawn, phone always unplugged. Chamberlain was pressured into after-hours auditions held past midnight in Beverly Hills, where directors, producers, even journalists evaluated candidates not on performance, but on physical compliance. Once he was asked to privately engage with a network executive before a new role was greenlit. When a male co-star once suggested going public, Chamberlain coldly replied, "If I lose this role because I love you, will you be able to feed me?" He wore the mask of the perfect gentleman for 40 years. Only after retiring did he dare admit the truth. But by then, the damage was done. The life he'd lived wasn't his own. It was a carefully curated illusion designed to protect the industry that had owned him from the start. Troy Donahue. The heartthrob and midnight casting parties. With his golden hair and surfer charm, Troy Donahue was the national heartthrob of the 1960s. But when the lights went out, he didn't go home. He showed up at invitation-only parties where casting didn't happen in front of a camera, but behind closed doors. At one such gathering in 1958 at a Mulholland Drive estate, Donahue was summoned into a room where director Jack Warner and 2 wealthy backers waited. A server present recalled, "He came out 30 minutes later, face pale as a sheet. He hadn't been asked to act, just to let them see what he looked like without clothes." After that night, he was offered a 7-year contract with Warner Brothers. From then on, every appearance Donahue made came with a price. In a leaked journal, he wrote, "Every time I appeared on screen, I had to erase a part of myself. After a few years, there was nothing left but the image they created." Donahue spiraled into addiction, lost everything, and died in solitude in 2001. But at least he had his moment of fame, brief, hollow, and paid for in pieces of his soul. Farley Granger. The innocent boy and his lover, in the dark. Farley Granger rose to fame with Hitchcock's Rope, 1948, charming audiences with his soft features, dreamy eyes, and gentle presence. But behind that fragility was a life dominated by fear and desire. In 1950, Granger entered a consuming relationship with screenwriter Arthur Lawrence, a man who controlled every step of his career. In his memoir, Include Me Out, Granger admitted, "Arthur taught me how to love, how to pretend, and how to lie down when I needed to keep a role." The relationship lasted over 15 years, but no one in the industry dared speak of it. Every time Granger landed a new part, whispers followed. Who did he sleep with this week? A production assistant was once fired for joking about it on The Strangers on a Train set. Granger never confirmed, never denied. In one of his final interviews, he said, "I loved. I was used. But I don't regret it, because in this world, if you don't let them touch your body, they'll never let you touch the spotlight." His career was built on compromise, and he spent the rest of his life trying to convince himself it was worth it. Scotty Bowers. The secret pimp of classic Hollywood. If anyone knew who slept with whom in classic Hollywood, it was Scotty Bowers. A former Marine, Bowers became the unofficial pleasure coordinator for the entire industry. Starting from a humble gas station on Hollywood Boulevard from 1946 onward, Scotty wasn't just pumping gas. He was introducing young men to VIP clients. Many were aspiring actors, unknown models, or recently discharged servicemen. In his memoir, Full Service, 2012, Bowers recalled, "Rock Hudson, Cary Grant, Spencer Tracy, they were all clients. I was just the middleman." He claimed to have arranged over 1,000 encounters over 3 decades and participated in more than a third of them himself. "They came to me because they had no choice," he said. "They needed roles, they needed rent, they needed to survive." Scotty was never sued, never caught on tape, and when he died in 2019, he left behind a vault of names, hundreds of icons who once lay down just to stand under Hollywood's lights. The male gods who once made millions of hearts flutter turned out to have also sold themselves in the dark, just to get a chance to stand in front of the camera. They smiled for the cameras but wept in locked rooms. They wore tuxedos on red carpets but left pieces of themselves in hotel suites they could never speak of. Some survived and became legends. Others were silenced, discarded, or killed. But all of them paid the same price: their bodies, their dignity, and their truth. Hollywood built its golden age on their backs and then erased the receipts. The question is, has this stopped or is it still happening? More sophisticated, more secretive, and more dangerous. What do you think about the truth behind the spotlight? Leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Turn on the notification bell because some stories deserve to be remembered no matter how much power tries to bury them.